가든기 레방 파나 전부 인도 portion 시왕기 짝로 파나 키르주고 뽑아샤we 근기 나수기 치마르 샴베 따기 카와진기 미남이야 샤더 차더기 미남이야 대링아 로기 유게지수 표이데 헤기 창고 오시예 대링아 키기 라소기 깨제레레 이게레 밥신예 이게레 밥신예. That was my mother tongue, Tibetan. This was a short excerpt from a long poem written by one of the Tibetan writers living inside Tibet. He wrote a book called Written in Blood, for which he was sentenced to 4 years in jail by the Chinese authorities. I am a Tibetan refugee. I live here in India, and I write poetry both in English and Tibetan. I will read a few poems in English from some of my books. First one is called Insight. Buddha stands in a public park, one hand holding a begging bowl, and the other raised in the air, greeting all sentient beings. Pigeons make love on his hat, covered with a bird shit, white as the full moon. Grass round his feet having disappeared, Buddha stands on a small brown island. A small boy walks around the Buddha, followed by a dog who raises his left leg and sprays Buddha with the shots of urine, yellow as saffron water. Buddha refuses to shuffle his legs. I think Buddha loves dogs and pigeons too. Thank you. And the other one is called Banishment. It has to do with my life as a refugee. Banishment. Away from home, I live in my 36th rented room with a trapped bee and a three-legged spider. The spider crawls on the wall and I on the floor. The bee bangs at the window and I on the table. Often we stare at each other, sharing our pool of loneliness. They paint the wall with the droppings and webs. I give them isolated words. Net, maze, tangle, wings, buds flutter. Away from home, my minutes are hours. The spider travels from the window to the ceiling. The bee flies from the window to the bin. I stare out of the window. Neither speaks each other's tongue. I wish you would go deaf before my silence. Thank you. And this one is called I. Who am I? Riverbank, mud house, my mother's eyes, my father's throat, garden of willow, pigeons pregnant, dust that flakes the altar invading sacred spaces. Here in the plains, there is no yakdang, just empty water bottles. No barley fields, only smoking cars. Yellow stars look down on my mother's sky. Barley has turned into wheat. Cabbages have stolen the field from round radish. My grandfather's summer bag is flat. Who am I? A book? A pen? Talking about snows of the land, thinking of the land of snow. Words deny me the smell of my mother's milk, sheep droppings, haystacks. Fats of my heart have left, barren void, yellow dream, numb thought. The milkman has come knocking 600 rupees for this month. Half circle, full triangle, new moon. I have lived in too many rented rooms. What I need is a home, a shoe rack fixed to a wall. Who am I? A hair of a dog stuck on barbed wire, a parcel of dried chura packed, sealed, stamped, shipped, a nomad tent pitched low like impermanence hanging on the plateau, dread day, flat peaks, hoop spot, musket shot. Some liberation comes from wildfire, green chilies, dromad. I am Kesa's war horse, living on Milarebus nettle broth, playing with words that mean and do not mean. And the last one is called A Song. All my moments belong to you, and I'm lonely still, enveloped in the smoke of your shadow like a dandelion under a tree. My head swells with your thoughts, and my heart is empty still, left behind by your pack of mares like a hopeless donkey. You are a spotless distant moon. I am a pebble on the shore, waiting for the next wave bathed in your light. My head swells with your thoughts, and my heart is empty still, left behind by your pack of mares like a hopeless donkey. You are a spotless distant moon. I am a pebble on the shore, waiting for the next wave bathed in your light. I am no more than a fallen leaf, a feather stuck on a juniper tree. But I circle your orb until stars outshine the moon. In search of your warmth, I follow the path of a vulture's flight, and my sparrow's wings take me to the desolate corner of my room. Here, I stare into the dusty screen of my laptop, hoping to write a song about the breeze that brings your fragrance. Thank you very much.
Yeah, can you hear me? Thank you, Bhuchung, for your extremely meditative poetry. That was beautiful. Next, we have Mukul Kumar. He is a bureaucrat, poet, and novelist. He belongs to the 1997 batch of the civil services. His written work includes 2 novels, As Boys Become Men and Seduction by Truth, and 2 poetry anthologies titled The Irrepressible Echoes and Catharsis. His publication was The Irrepressible Echoes, which he wrote in poetic prose style on themes of life, social issues, nationalism, love, etc. Catharsis, published in 2020, comprises 52 poems encompassing myriad moods of life. I invite Mukul Kumar to read from his work.
Thank you, Anisha. Good evening, everyone. Since the time is limited, I think I should straight away head into the poetry recitation. My first poem has been inspired by what I believe is the worst military conflict of the recent human times, that is Russia-Ukraine war. And this poem explores the theme of war. Before beginning this poem, I am reminded of a very famous quote by Richard Price, a famous American writer, who says, "You don't write about the horrors of wars, no. You write about the kids' burned socks lying in the road." That is what this poem is trying to do here. It is titled The Manticore. Manticore is a Persian legendary character that has the human, head of the human, and body of a lion, and tail of a scorpion. So here goes the poem, The Manticore. An infant in the throes of helpless tears is perched atop the bosom of the mother, his frantic nudges to wake her up unanswered, his hungry cries amplifying the macabre silence. The life is too young to learn death. Sleep and death are synonyms. On platter is blood, not milk. Death has just finished its dance, and ominous hiatus may be, the corpses littered on the sheet of blood, torn or smeared. The bosom of the bombed earth, bleeding with a terrible tremor, a toddler's tears are tireless. The scream sends the silence into a cacophonous crescendo. The tremor mutates into quake as a manticore prowls around, the earth groaning under its lurid limbs. Its eyes snigger a terrible victory, the looks shining thirsty for the blood still on the platter. And the tail wagging in a gory glee to suck out the life that is left gasping. The arrival upon the child, silenced with shock, the tears trapped in his incarcerated sighs, horror trips the trajectory of imagination. Thank you. And the second poem is titled Wanderlust. This poem came out of me during the pandemic times. I think those were the times when every one of us suffered from claustrophobic sensibility and tended to be gripped with a sense of wanderlust. So here, I think while the man remained caught up in the cravings, the poet took the flight, his imagination here, there, and everywhere. So that is how this poem came out. It is called Wanderlust, and it paints four distinct reliefs of nature, namely mountain, sea, desert, and forest. So here goes the poem Wanderlust. The summit sublimates into the mist that drifts into the clouds around. Its rise, gay and spirited, speaks the thirst for the sky, the unknown, freed from the dreary fixity of the abode. Knowledge is the enemy to discovery, and nothing can be everything. The sight echoes in my heart with all its magic and merriment, and in all its spirits and shades. This was, mountain, and now comes the sea. The unspotted sky swoons over the sea, arching to kiss it with an unaffected passion. The sublime blue horizon, the two blues echoing each other, beckons me with its surreal charm. The loveliest journey is to an illusory destination. When an untiring adventure colors the quest for discovery, fatigue and fervor fuse into the bliss of freedom, and travels and arrives every rowing. The sky is a beautiful ball resting delicately upon the brilliant golden saucer of an unending desert. Now, I'm just describing desert. The sky is a beautiful ball resting delicately upon the brilliant golden saucer of an unending desert. The harrowing hollowness is enticing. The rapidly shifting dunes under the fearsome roaring winds inspire the terrible charm of mutability. The eerie enchantment calls me aloud, excitement turning and tossing with a wild gayness. God and ghost are twins. God and ghost are twins, and fear is the pet of unadulterated freedom. One of the chimeras has to be oasis. Faith is the feather for flight. Now last is the forest. The forest is enveloped in darkness. The moonlight seducing into alluring colors, curves, and contours. The femme fatale foments in me a fatal attraction. Fright is the spice of adventure, danger the darling of discovery, and terror the trinket of beauty. And on offer is nature at its surreal best, with the whispers of ghostly silences, strange sounds of the sleeping forest, and the spooky smells of the prowling beast that is sure to be the cure of the malignant malady of monotony. The next poem is, Rhythm of the Ruins. Actually, my third collection, Rhythm of the Ruins, has already come out. And these poems actually belong to this particular poetry collection. So here is the title poem, The Rhythm of the Ruins. And this poem basically paints the picture of the chaos that precedes the creation, new creation. So here goes the poem, The Rhythm of the Ruins. A nebulous mass is gnawing at my heart with an unrelenting unfeelingness. A nebulous mass is gnawing at my heart with an unrelenting unfeelingness. The cloud refuses to rain. The catharsis remains elusive. Emotions seek thoughts, and thoughts the words. hopelessly. It is a lull after the storm, a cacophonous silence, deafening, a void filling in me, harrowing. It will endure. It will endure no matter. Time is the healer. Life loves defying the proverb as it is life. I am fashioning myself to move about well in the chaos as anarchy assumes a new order, the rhythm of the ruins. But still, I wish the birth of Gaia and Eros to bless me with a new order. So I started from war and now I am coming to love. That is what humanity, seeks. So this poem is titled "We Define Love." Milan Kundera in the unbearable lightness of being says that love is half of ourselves that we have lost. So that is the sentiments that this poem echoes. We define love. Each time we meet, you rob a little of myself. Each time we meet, you rob a little of myself, but the losing is not loss always. The same of you fills in to render me bigger, brighter, the sun-shot cloud, iridescent, an enchanting stroke of spectral hues. Suffusion is inherently expansive. The confluence of the two is neither of the two, a new creature into being. Love is divine. Love is divine is not an imaginary flight of a philosophical mind. It is an experiential dwelling of a material heart. Time? So last poem, I will be ending at faith, war, then love, and then faith. So here goes the poem. This is titled, Faith is the Soul of God. This poem, brings out the eternal clash between intellect and, faith. All of us suffer from doubt at some point or the other. And this has been brought out through the interplay between the devotee and the deity, seeker and the statue. So I think this is how this poem goes. Faith is the soul of God. Sighs begin escaping, a flurry. Sighs begin escaping, a flurry. Tears begin rolling down, a stream. Hopes begin rising, a surge. Senses serve the sight, a fusion. The statue is set into pulsation. The stone mellows into animation. The radiant eyes, the beatific smile, the transfiguration is evidenced. I could come to life again. Here the statue is now talking to the, devotee. I could come to life again. It is the fire ignited by your waters. The statue's gratitude gushes out as it passionately pairs with me. The thought trips, the surge subsides as I am freezing back. Faith is the soul of God. Faith is the soul of God. The absurdism hammers the eyes hard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your very evocative poetry and the wide range of subjects it covers. Next, we have Maria Goretti, who I grew up with on MTV, watching MTV. So Maria is a popular Indian TV anchor, actor, chef, and author. Her latest book of poems, To the Moon and Back, Life, Love, and Everything in Between, is about love, the pain it brings, the madness that surrounds it, but also the happiness that bathes in it. Maria, we would love for you to read your poems.
Check. Is it audible? Great. So, this piece is called To the Moon and Back. And so they traveled miles just to hold each other tight. For all they had was paucity of time. She would always break his heart, he said. Not completely true, said she. She would be breaking two, she knew. One his, one hers. But then he said goodbye and broke her heart into fragments of a different kind. Because at that moment, she could not make it right, and he did not have the time. They both deserved a heart that could be home. She looked at all the love she held that only had his name to the moon and back several times. She scattered it all around him, hoping the clouds, the flowers, a few parts butterfly wings, babbling brooks, wandering wild animals, chirping birds, and the breeze that caressed his skin would always remind him. Somewhere in all the chaos and din, a girl who had not stepped over lines, jumped over walls and broke through life's barricades just because she loved him. But she has all the odds stacked against her, and time was never their ally. Was this not meant to be? Is this how this story ends? Well, I don't know. A little courage and a lot of hope make dreams come true, they say. But right now, he and she are traveling miles to the moon and back again, only in opposite ways. Okay. Okay, so this piece is about each and every one of us. Okay, and I hope you can find your little space in these words. This is called Accept You. Not everything works out in life the way you imagine it to. Not the love, not the friendship, the fabulous job, or that perfect travel plan. And in that moment when it's all lying in pieces at your feet, and you're reading every meaning about kintsugi, when you're knocking on various types of helpful doors, when you feel like death with no interest in anything, least of all yourself, and digging deeper into an abyss, desperately trying to find that part of you that you completely miss, at that point of time, I have realized that it's better to give in than to give yourself any false hope. This is for the best. You mostly lie to yourself. There is bigger and better waiting around the bend. And no, I'm not going to disagree. But your heart needs to feel a little pain-free. You are unique, and your healing has its own timeline. Don't be hard on yourself. Dive into the darkness of no answers, and slowly, after going through every scenario and conversation in your mind, with many ifs and buts rearing their concerned heads, you will come to a place where all you want to do is never get out of bed. Frankly, I have realized no one needs you except you. Should I say this again? Because if you look around, you see life going on. The ones who want to leave have left. The job now belongs to someone else. You may no longer have that friend you held, and that holiday sailed on time with a bag full of smiles. What you will be left with is you. So be kind and loving to thee. Maybe you are not where you wanted to be, and as much as you may not like it, you're just going to have to give in to the universe's plans. Do a free fall into you. Trust what your gut is telling you. Don't wait for what tomorrow may or may not bring. Wrap yourself in that blanket of love. Take your time. I know it may seem like a lifetime, but when your heart is better healed, you will find yourself sparkling like freshly washed porcelain, lingering scent of wildflowers, delicate and completely non-breakable free, but ready for freshly brewed tea. Somehow today, I just want to say, hang in there. We are all in different stages of repair, both you and me.
Okay, thanks, Maria, for the very heartbreaking, your very heartbreaking poems, but also so hopeful. Thanks so much. Okay, now we have Ibrahim Waheed, who's a published writer and poet, an academic, an education consultant, a polyglot, an accomplished multi-instrument musician, lyricist, television personality, a pioneer in the Maldives movie and music industry. And on top of all of that, he's also a senior statesman in the Maldives. I would like to invite him to present his poetry in English as well as Dhivehi, which is the national language of the Maldives.
Assalamu alaikum, namaskar, kamagani. She just mentioned the Dhivehi language, which word comes from Sanskrit. It's a combination, dweep, div, and veshi. Dweep meaning island, and veshi meaning the dweller. So we, the Dhivehi, are the island dwellers. The official name of the Maldives is not the Maldives being a British invention. The actual name of the country is Dhivehi Raj, the kingdom of the island dwellers. I'll start with Dhivehi. Now, for those of you who are lovers of Sanskrit, keep your ears open. If you're linguists, keep your ears open. You might hear some words that you know. Hua fineke dogu finida manzar, huang nakatuge tufanega, suaruge kamuga dekifia, niva enolibene kankashavar, hua fineke dogu finida manzar. Hua taka dogu kurmai makar, hevainu baya vakinu vitanga, duvalu re gandu olu vafia, nivange gini dati vakan kashavar, hua feneke dogu fenita manzar. Ruva gahung foni nerevene hakur, sualu mika halak hureve tanuga, Jua kuleng aburung hulefia, nuane mamfa makasaveru hua feneke dogu fenida manzar, hua feneke dogu fenida manzar. The translation. Huafeng. Huafeng, that word is derived from swapna. So, it's a false dream, the scene in front of you now. It is a false dream, the scene in front of you now, if in a storm churned up by Huang. And Huang is Shravana, the 3-star nakshatra. If that is what you see as a paradise, you shall surely not be able to get any leeward shelter. It is a false dream, the scene in front of you now. Making false promises and fraud in a place where good and bad are not discerned from each other, if a day and night, if they are confused with each other, surely you cannot extinguish the resulting conflagration. It is a false dream, the scene in front of you now. Can one extract sweet sugar from the ruva plant? The ruva plant is the giant milkweed, the Calotropis gigantea. Can one extract sweet sugar from the ruva plant? If in places where such questions are asked, if you attempt to gamble with your own honor, surely you shall not make any gains. It's a false dream, the scene in front of you now. Thank you. Now, this morning I did a session here, and a young lady comes up to me and says, "Hey, can I take a picture with you? Can I bring somebody close to me here?" And she's sitting right there. This one is for you and for all the young ladies out there. It's in English. Listen up, okay? This is how I see you, poem for a daughter. Daughter, take off dawning light. Take off beauty and what's right. Dearest, wink at every fright and fly with life just like a kite. Precious, walk with your head held high. When you fall, again do try. Do not cheat or live a lie. And my girl, don't you ever cry. That goes out to you and to all the young ladies out there. Do I have time? Yes. Here's another one. At the summit, sir, this is for you. And for all my friends out here. Tell a soul the way to heaven, and then be blessed or cursed. Show a man the road to riches, and then be robbed or thanked. Teach a child the way to think, and then be blamed or cursed. But give a king the right to rule, and then forever be damned. Give the parched a sip of water. May then your hand be blessed. No, may your hand be kissed. Take the blind across the street. Have then your road enlightened. Help a crying child in need. Then for a while be admired. But give your kin your pot of gold, and surely then you'll be beggared. You have time? Yeah? One more? I think I'm actually, she's just said I got some more time. But what I'll do is, for my colleagues to also take part in this, I'll actually stop here. But before I go, I do have a message for you. Once again, JLF, thank you so much for your hospitality. Thank you, Jaipur, so much for your hospitality. It's been a beautiful experience. What JLF has done here is it has brought together a lot of people from such a diverse set of backgrounds that we've still made good friends of each other. And I hope that all of you, young and old, as you sit here, before you go out and as you go out, we can keep that spirit going where we can make friends of each other. So once again, thank you so much from the Divehi Rajya. May God bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much for your wit, and that was very enjoyable. Thank you. Next we have Sukrita Paul Kumar, who is a poet and critic and honorary fellow of the prestigious International Writing Program at the University of Iowa. She is also a former fellow of the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies in Shimla. In December 2023, she was awarded the Rabindranath Tagore Literary Prize for her book Salt and Pepper Selected Poems. So I invite Sukrita Paul Kumar to read from Salt and Pepper.
Thank you, Anisha. This is quite a privilege. Thank you, JLF. I think at the end of the day, if you have poetry and you sleep with poetry, you're going to have very good dreams. Wake up with a poem each one of you. Lovely. So, but I'm going to read you the first one. Is a poem on crows. And actually speaking, I mean, I always thought that crows were great friends of Indians, and only Indians are, creating mythology of crows. But then I discovered later that whether it's England or Timbuktu or Australia, but crows are everywhere. But I want to claim them for ourselves. So my series of poems on crows is called Crows Are Our Ancestors. So anyway, this is just a sample from that series. I will read it first and then go on to the next series. I've been writing series these days, and one is on Ganga. Anyway, crows are our ancestors. At the congregation of the black crows under the foliage of neem trees, each crow stood his ground and cawed the unanimous wish to exit the dark world of human aspirations They declaimed loud and clear to take off into the pink skies, to reach the rising sun, to create their own dreams, unlike the human ones, to live and let live. Second one. In today's congregation of the crows, the wise old head crow gave his resolute comments, confronting the incessant cawing of his audience, drowning the din of the gregarious jungle babblers. Come what may, said he, we may lose our bodies feather by feather, the bill, neck, breast, wings, legs, or the tail in our resolve, if only to retain our spirit of mystery, of omen, of premonition and insight, and not be like the human species. The next one is a series from a couple of poems from the series called Green Poemlets. I'm not just kind of inventing this, and I think it's going to come to be prevalent very soon because there's a whole volume of mine coming out called Poemlets. These are like fledgling poems, small ones. Poemlets, like chiclets, right? People and neem, side and side, let their leaves fall in the unison of yellow, of green, and of brown. Dead hopes and wishes in many hues fly away with the westward wings, making space for new leaves, new branches, new life. 2. Nobody dies in this jungle. Branches of trees bend with the live spirits on their backs of people who walked here. The corpses walking below wait impatiently to climb the trees. And at dawn today, in the jungle, Kauravas and Pandavas stood ready for battle. War cries rose from kikar bushes. The winds whistled, beckoning the golden chariot to arrive with reason and light and suspend the daily Mahabharat of living. Now, this is a poem the next one is a poem that came out of my feeling of alienation when I visited China. I didn't know Chinese language, obviously, but I knew the language of maternity, right? And that's where I connected with a Chinese woman. This is a poem called The Woman with a Baby. Lilacs and tulips sprouting from the slants of her eyes, her yellow face shimmering in white sunlight, her body a luminescent garden. Life within life, dancing on feather feet, the rising belly, a tight sponge puffed into lightness, her hands going in circles, caressing the baby inside her belly. On the cozy pathway, whispering history in Portuguese, lingering past in the ruins of the fortress at Macau, memories hanging with roots from old branches of banyan trees, whiffs of future blowing from the citadel of the present, singing the song of her body. The woman walked through smoke and dust. Our eyes met. Chinese with Indian, entwined in maternity, not mediated by English. Tiny movements rising in our bellies, fish churning in the ocean, birds flapping wings through the skies, and eyelids drooping and batting heavy to enter or exit the bliss of sleep and then birthing a baby. Thank you. Is there time for a small one? Little bit? Okay, I'll just. So this is a very long poem, but I'm not going to read more than just a few lines, which I call Dialogues with Ganga. So I want to end with that. It's just a few lines. In the din of the river, the sound of the universe vanishes, and echoes of silence rise from within the mind. Echoes of silence rise from within the mind as confessions from within. O Ganga, I am ready. I am ready to perform my life again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wisdom of your words. Finally, we have Renu Roy. Renu is an eminent personality in the arena of the performing and visual arts. She's the founder-director of Kolkata's reputed cultural organization, Spandan. Her passion for poetry has culminated in her third volume of verse, The Far Side and Other Poems, where she returns with themes of love, grief, quest, transience, and the wonder of existence. I invite Renu Roy to read from her work.
Thank you, Anisha. And thank you, all of you friends, for staying for poetry. My first poem is The Horizon, something that we see every day. But is the horizon an illusion? And one day, the horizon comes to visit me. It unfastened itself on the shingled shore, tiptoed across the rain-draped waterfront. Quietly, like smudged mist, it crouched on my garden wall, still as death. With a fragile pensiveness, it said it was the horizon. Could it spend a little time with me? Would I listen to fragments of a tale mired in perpetual paradox that is absent and present in the same moment? Has it not climbed out of dark dawns to hold the sun on its rim? It would forever be more than it is and less than it seems, anointed with the grace of rain and wind and sky. Many believe it exists, oceans, sailors, dreamers, all. For some, an aberration enduring smirk and sneer for nameless betrayals. A nothingness, untouched, untraceable, spawned from sediments of doubts, eluded grasps, and unslaked longings. An error of the human gaze, a crucible of ordinary hopes. It would hold its answer, a tasteless truth in trust, just for today. As tears wade in weary eyes, it touched my trembling hand and vanished into itself. Who would believe I had held the horizon for an instant in infinity? Time, again, an elusive element, something that has been an enigma always. I stare at the clock tethered to the wall and wonder about the specter of time, its clenched and unclenched hands, fleeting or slow, moving ceaselessly in impeccable rhythm, untouchable, yet touching all. I wait for it to relinquish its hold on me. Unheeding, it recedes with ease into a disheveled past, then flies on the wings of speed. It is unmindful of the present. Is it a fallacy in finitude, or a continuum without end, a seeming contradiction, perhaps, that floats into oblivion, cleaving through the grief of the world, yet leaving footprints of compassion and healing, grudging and petty. Incomprehensible nothing that holds fate in its thrall and leads me to what lies beyond itself into the center of non-existence. This is in a slightly romantic vein and dedicated to my husband. I have also dedicated my book to him. I love the sunset for the last time. I hear squandered melodies in auburn shadows. I hold the slow-eyed summer dusk to the ache in my heart. The swollen surf breaks like lace on the impassioned shore. The sky is convulsed with the dream of rain. It pours over my tear-washed soul and seeps into the thirsting earth. See how the wind listens to the litany of a sea that flows on like my own longing. I feel your breath unbreathing in the liquid darkness. Your eyes drained and dimmed, they look into mine and know that on the summer sands you walk, you do not walk alone. And my last poem, a short one. In your eyes flows the same river as mine. I wait for the breakers to carry us in, and for life to enter our living. Together we take shelter inside ourselves from this fallacy of facades. The thunderbird spreads its wings of endearment over my tiredness, washed away by the gentle river that streams in us. I warm my spirit in your fire and measure the distance between your sunset and my last years. I shall meet you in the quiet clearing where your forest meets my flowering, and once again become a tiny sprig in your sun. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That was beautiful. Today we live in a world that is highly fractured, fragmented, and polarized. In this world, poetry can help us understand one another, leading us away from hate to love, from violence to mercy and pity. I hope you all enjoyed this evening. Goodbye, and have the rest of a wonderful evening and the rest of the festival. Thank you.